all about not confining or defining yourself.
Donning many hats is not a feat that too many people carry off with elan.
How do you have an adventure if you already know what your path is?
To some it comes naturally. Some acquire it after a lot of hard work, and others just keep walking. Because they are constantly in search for that one hat which fits them perfectly. But all of the above have one thing in common. Their misgivings about failure are minimal.
You can make a film so completely instinctively when there are no expectations.
They just don't seem to be as averse to failure as most people. To them, failure is but learning that comes to them the hard way.
Failure actually is your best friend because it drives you, and so I nurture failure. I nurture the whole idea of the potential of a failure because it drives me. If everybody's done something and proven it can be done, your potential of failure is not that high. But if you go and do something that nobody's ever done, then your potential of failure is very high.
Shekhar Kapoor is one such man. He has directed 7 movies till date. But each of those movies have broken new ground and in a manner changed the game in both Indian and Western cinema. And hence, even after just making 7 movies, Shekhar Kapoor as a director commands the respect of some of the biggest studios, both at home and abroad. Not to mention the who's who of the industry, from his co-workers to critics, and of course, his audience.
I've never really imagined myself as a game changer. I've never paused. I've never thought about it. And I get embarrassed when people say you're a game changer because, you define yourself, you confine yourself. And life is all about not confining or defining yourself because in definition, we get trapped in cages. In definition, we get trapped in ideas about yourself. That's why I just keep telling stories. Because in the creating of making up of stories, you're recreating yourself. My story today is not going to be my story tomorrow. And my story of tomorrow is not going to be my story of day after. Because if I keep telling the same story, I've defined myself, I've confined myself.
Shekhar's father, Kulbhushan Kapoor, was a doctor with a flourishing practice. And hence he wanted his son also to have a stable job to lay his life's foundation on. Shekhar did his schooling from the modern school Barakhamba Road, where his uncle was the principal.
As a 10-year-old, I was really confused. I couldn't understand why at one point I was living in a finite, defined, measured world. But when I came out at night, I saw myself as part of this infinite, forever idea that went on. And I would sit, actually my mom was saying, so why are you crying? I'm saying, because I can't extend my imagination to a point where I can see the end of that space.
After he finished his schooling, Shekhar went on to read economics at the famous St. Stephen's College in Delhi University. After he finished college, Shekhar, at the behest of his parents, went to the UK to study accounting and became a chartered accountant. He joined an oil company and was doing well for himself, but something was missing.
When I was in London and said I'm going to be a filmmaker, everybody said, oh, come on, you're a chartered accountant, what are you talking about? You can't do it. So I just said, I'll do it. And I came back to India. I gave up actually everything. I gave away my car. I used to drive a pretty nifty sports car at that time. I was quite like a man about town. The normal thing, driving your convertible down King Street and walking down Carnaby Street, going to South France. I just gave it away. I gave away all my possessions because if you give away your possessions, you've made a commitment.
Shekhar had always been a rebel. Never one to walk on a run-of-the-mill, well-trodden path. walked his own path and played the game on his own terms.
I aspire to chaos. And chaos is freedom. Structure is not freedom. Structure is, yes, achievement. I'm not interested in achievement. I have no interest in achievement. I'm only interested in the journey. I'm only interested in just keep walking and seeing whatever accumulates and whatever happens in this great adventure of life. That's what I'm interested in. That's what drives me. And is this a ambition? No, I'm not in charge of it. There's nothing else I can do. Try change me. You think I haven't tried?
Shekhar was the famous Vijay Anand and Dev Anand's nephew, and even though his mother had a passion for acting, it was nothing major. Shekhar's father had been keen on keeping him away from the lure of show business, but he could not succeed.
Because I remember my father was shaving one day and he just looked into the mirror and I was standing behind there. He hadn't seen me for about 2 years. And I just said, oh, he said, what are you doing here? I was in London. And I said, I'm here and I'm going tomorrow. I've carriage train, I'm going to Mumbai and I'm going to Bombay at that time. I'm going to be in the movies. So he cut himself and he said, should we talk about it? So we talked about it.
Shekhar's brave but seemingly reckless decision to join show business, something that his father had consciously kept him away from, did not go down well with his parents. But Shekhar was determined, and so he approached his uncle Dev Anand, who gave him his first break in Ishq Ishq Ishq. Post that, Shekhar did a few films like Pal Do Pal Ka Saath, Jeena Yahan and Toote Khilone. But acting didn't really agree with him. But Shekhar did not let failure at acting put him down. He resurfaced in the early 80s with Masoom, produced by Devi Dutt, Guru Dutt's elder brother. A poignant performance by Jugal Hansraj, supported by the brilliance of Shabana Azmi and Nasiruddin Shah. The movie holds a special appeal for Kapoor.
I wanted to make a film. I wanted somebody to give me a film to make, and Masoom came to me. And the first film I wanted to make wasn't Masoom. It was a film called Bardashт with Naseer. And the producer, Devi Dutt, he took me to meet his financier, who I started to tell the story of Bardashт. I saw a big yawn, and I looked inside that yawn, and I saw the end of my budding career as a director. I looked around his desk and I found lots of stories, lots of pictures of kids. So I changed the story. And I narrated this unknown story to him, influenced by a book I had read about 3 days ago. And he loved it, because it was about his kids. So he came and said, what was that? And I said, that's a different film, let's make that film. And so Masoom was born. Out of this one yawn, Masoom was born out of the yawn of a financier.
He was completely hands-on and totally confident, not at all awed by the fact that he was a young actor directing to people who were much acclaimed and so on. He had it all very well worked out, and what I was most impressed by was his ability to infuse life into a scene. In the most ordinary scenes of a breakfast of the family or whatever, the mundane stuff, a person sitting outside the tennis court, I was fully confident within the first 2 days of shooting Masoom that, hey, we're making a fantastic movie.
4 years later, Shekhar went on to direct a movie that broke new ground in Hindi cinema. A film that appealed to at least 3 generations at the time it was released. Mr. India broke new ground in cinema in more ways than one.
I literally put myself in a 12-year-old mindset. I remember Amrish Puri asking me at that time, so how do you want me to play Mogambo? And I said, very seriously. He said, what do you mean, very seriously? I said, you're a Shakespearean actor. He said, yes. I said, imagine you playing Shakespeare. But you're playing Shakespeare to 10-year-old kids in an Indian village. Now, how would you play Shakespeare? And now if you go back to see Mr. India, it's exactly what he did. And every time I was making Mr. India, I was looking at the script, I was looking at the shot, and I said, hey, that 12-year-old kid inside you, I would ask that 12-year-old kid, you like it? You enjoy it? Is it fun? Is it slow? Is it fast? If the kid said, yes, fine, I would say, fine. Or I would ask for a retake unless that 12-year-old kid sitting inside me said yes.
He was a very, very involved director. He had clarity on exactly how he wanted to treat the film, what Anil should be wearing, and fortunately, we all agreed. You see, whatever Javed Sab suggested, Shekhar understood and Shekhar agreed. Whatever Shekhar suggested, Javed Sab agreed. So it was basically a very harmonious unit working together. And everything, we all evolved as film students in that film. I evolved as a filmmaker, Shekhar evolved as a film director, and of course all the actors excelled. Anil was exceptional in the film, so was Sri. And the kids also, Shekhar managed to get such good work out of the kids, which was amazing.
After the high of Mr. India, Shekhar's next project also broke new ground, but in a way that the censor board felt that the Indian audiences weren't ready for. Bandit Queen was stuck in the halls of the censor board for a very long time, but Shekhar did not give up, and eventually the censor board approved of the movie after they were satisfied with the changes.
Bandit Queen was one film which shocked the world. It was unanimously praised world over by the critics, by the people who saw the film. He was recognized as a director, as a filmmaker who has his own mark, who has qualities which were comparable to the best of the directors from the Western world. And the film won several awards and acclaim all over the world.
There was this scene in which the train passes by in the end where Seema Biswas is going hysterical. We couldn't afford to get a train, we didn't have the money, we didn't have the organization. So here's what I did. I put my ear to the track and I tried to hear the train coming. And the train came around the corner suddenly and I said, action. And Seema started the scene. The train came with the right dialogue, not unpredictably. It went away at the right time. Everything was perfect. How did that happen? Even now when I see that scene, I wonder, how the hell did that happen? It just happened. It happened because you gave to chaos.
Shekhar's run-in with the censor board over Bandit Queen had left him wary. He did not like the idea of too many people telling him what to do, and so he made a decision which was seen as rash by a lot of people. Shekhar decided to shift to Hollywood, where gaining acceptance for your work was easier, and the censors did not chop off the film because the audience was not ready for it. Shekhar bounced back with the Academy Award-winning period film Elizabeth, a fictional account of the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. The film was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, and the world stood up to take notice of Shekhar Kapur. Shekhar went on to work for a few more years in Hollywood. He made the cinematic adaptation of The Four Feathers, made the sequel to Elizabeth called Elizabeth: The Golden Age, and he also directed one of the short films for the anthology romantic comedy drama feature New York, I Love You.
People ask me, why do all your films look so different? And when they ask me, I stop to ask myself. Otherwise, I've never asked myself that question. From Masoom to Mr. India to Bandit Queen to Elizabeth to Four Feathers to Golden Age and all the short films that I've made, there's not a single film now that I look at it has the same. And the only answer I can give is it's not the same person. The person that made Masoom is not the same person who made Mr. India. And the person who made Mr. India cannot be the same person who made Bandit Queen.
Shekhar continues to keep doing what he does best, be in search for more. He weaves story after story and stitches them together to make the story of his life. He is currently working on several things simultaneously. A social media company he has started with A.R. Rahman. His pet project about water conservation, the teaser to which was released at the Cannes Film Festival a couple of years back. As for future plans, Shekhar's only agenda looked like it was to keep walking.
You know, the most difficult question that people ask me is the question I ask myself every moment. And everybody says, what's next? And they feel that I'm just ignoring the question, I'm not wanting to tell. But trust me, I ask myself that question every day. So there's that part of me which says, hey Shekhar, where are you going? And there's that part of me that's just walking ahead. And so there's a kind of a duality because I'm human. And because I'm human, I fear. But because there's a duality of this other Shekhar, that is the childlike, fearless Shekhar, that doesn't fear. And this battle between the two Shekhars is a continuous battle. But it's a battle, the one that keeps walking. And walking not aimlessly, but purposefully. So as long as part of me keeps walking and constantly battles that part of me saying, hey, where are you going? So, hey, where are you going? I'm just going. Hey, where are you going? I'm just going. Is a constant battle, but it's the most fascinating duality and battle between me and myself.
Shekhar Kapur, the individual, has walked many paths in his life. He has not had everything fall into his lap. He's faced his share of difficulties, has looked adversity in the face, and overcome failures by not letting them put him down. Despite all odds, Shekhar Kapur has walked the path less trodden, and the way we see it, he is going to keep walking.
You know, there is no human being in this world that is not beset by doubt. Doubt is a part of our lives. Doubt is part of being an egoistic human being. So you could stand on the ledge and say, should I not? You could spend a lifetime saying, should I not? But one thing I've learned always is don't spend too much time, just jump. Don't be afraid, jump, that's it. Because without that jumping into the darkness, without falling off the ledge, there is actually no action. Otherwise, it's all reaction or inaction. Action is about taking the risk. Action is about jumping and going into the darkness and jumping into uncertainty and embracing this whole idea of uncertainty. Otherwise, doubt is what will keep you inactive. So embrace it, go jump.